Welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. And like we always say, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's
hot topic?
That's it.
I thought we'd talk about drugs today.
Drugs?
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone loves drugs, surely.
Not me. Well, it depends on what you classify as a drug. But we can get into that, can't we?
That's it.
So what are your thoughts and what are your ideas on drugs then, mate? What are your experiences?
Well, I must admit, I have tried a few drugs in my past.
Have you? Okay.
When I was younger.
Yeah.
I tried.
Don't be judgmental.
No,
Please appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, but when I was younger, there was children were taking drugs.
Yeah.
Back then, and that's the way it was. I can't help the way
society was, yeah.
Or whatever, and even all the children were smoking around me. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Some didn't, but you got the group that did,
Yeah.
and it kind of like if you didn't smoke, you feel bad.
You were the odd one out kind of thing.
Well, they sort of like think you're a goody-goody.
It's strange, yeah.
I don't know, but I started smoking when I was about 15, you see, and even smoking is a drug, isn't it? I've been, to be honest, I've been smoking ever since,
Yeah.
I quite enjoy it, and
Same.
I'm still alive today, I'm not dead. It's not killed me.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to cut down
now,
and I think it's a case of controlling these things.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah.
But when I did try these little things when I was younger, like for instance, speed, there's a drug called speed, I don't know what you actually call it, I used to call it speed, I don't know the actual real name of it.
Yeah, technical
I can't remember. But anyway, this stuff just gave you energy. It's like having a sugar, but a whole packet.
Okay.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And it just gave it kept you awake.
Okay.
And you wouldn't sleep all night. You just want to do housework or go up the shop or something. And just do things. It's just crazy. It just gives you a lot of energy. It's quite addictive drug, really. And I did do these things. I think just to try them more than anything. Just to experiment, really. But I didn't sort of like go down that alley where I got addicted to them.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try them out.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I did quite enjoy that drug, speed. Yeah, when I was younger. I'm talking about, 16. When I was 16. 15,
Yeah.
So I'm
40 years ago.
quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think even today, there's drugs around. When children are at school and that, there's lots of drugs around.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because I'm not, not at school anymore. So I don't know really what it's like today.
Yeah.
But I just know that when I was younger, it was a little bit around. You know what I mean? All of it. Cannabis, a whole lot of it.
Yeah.
That's 40 years back.
Yeah.
And I must admit I enjoyed speed, and sometimes I might have taken it again, when I come across it, because I knew that I had a good time before on it, when I was 18.
Yeah.
And I might take it when I was 21 again, and I might have took it when I was 25 again, if you see what I mean. But I want one of these that took it every week, every day, do you know what I mean? Because I knew that's when it can do harm when you're doing it a lot.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Well, I guess so, because as I say, I've never tried any of those things,
No.
But Well, I've seen enough evidence anyway, because to back basically to back up what you just said anyway. There's enough evidence out there to support that, if you see what I mean, where people use some of these very strong illicit drugs and become heavily addicted to them, and then a lot of times their life just kind of goes on a downward spiral, doesn't it? If you see what I mean. And sometimes people end up hitting rock bottom and all sorts of things, don't they?
I mean, it's like a lot of people inject it, don't they?
Yeah.
It's something I wouldn't do. Ever.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've not done, do you know what I mean? Like, even when I was younger.
I was going to say, like, even growing up, because like, obviously I grew up in the Caribbean, right? So like growing up in the Caribbean, that's not something that I ever saw much. I never really ever saw that growing up in the Caribbean, if that makes sense. Most people would smoke weed, to be very honest. You know what I mean? Large majority of people that, you know what I mean, where I grew up and, you know, like right across the island, you know what I mean? People from the age of maybe, you know, 12, all the, you know, 12, 13, all the way up to, you know, 80s, 90s. You get even some older people over there that will sit down on their front step you know, in the mornings with a coffee and a cup of tea and have a joint, you know. And I did see, like, don't get me wrong, you'd have people that would buy cocaine and shit like that, but it was pretty much like predominantly like for the tourists.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, people would have it and would sell it predominantly for the tourists, and obviously they could upmarket it for the tourists. If you see what I mean, they could charge more to the tourists than they would charge the average Joe on the street, if that makes sense. And then I saw a few crackheads growing up as well too. You know what I mean? There are a few crackheads, the ones that smoke crack, like the rocks, you know, the rock cocaine.
Yeah. So I never touched that stuff.
I'm the same. I've never touched it, but I tell you what, growing up and watching people see it, like growing up and being in certain environments and seeing like the odd occasionally seeing the odd crackhead come and buy crack from someone, and then go in a corner and bloody hit their pipe and start acting bloody erratically and strange.
I mean, I've heard that crack is a very, very bad drug.
Yeah.
You know, it will turn you into a bad person.
Oh yeah.
Make you into a thief. Apparently, you know, do bad things. But
Definitely,
you know, I don't know whether that's true. But
I've seen it, mate. I've seen it. I've seen guys like come. I remember like chilling, because obviously grew up in the Caribbean and stuff. Like in my community, like you got a block. Like most communities have got a block, or you know, a place where people would chill out and lime, as they would call it, if you see what I mean. You know, just, you know, play games or smoke and have a drink and chat or whatever. But I remember occasionally as well, there was a few crackheads in my community. Well, they didn't actually live directly in my community, but they'd kind of come through the community every now and again and buy crack from the guy that sold the crack. To be, you know, just to be blunt about it. And like sometimes if they come in the morning, like sometimes we were chilling early in the morning, like if I was off from work or whatever, just chilling out, having a smoke, having a cup of tea, whatever, and you get someone come up on the block, and if they weren't able to get any crack, mate, they would go berserk. Start acting like, oh mate, awful, you know, like they would, you know, it's yeah.
They lose it.
They're the type of people, right, that they become so erratic that you don't want to be around them, because they could do something to you just on the basis that they're angry that they can't get any drugs. They
become dangerous, really.
Basically, they can't get their fix, so they get a bit, you know, dangerous, honestly. You know, they start chucking shit, you know what I mean, and like, especially if they already the type of person that walks around with a knife or something anyway, just for protection. You know, they might all of a sudden, you know, take out their knife and start bloody, you know, pacing up and down with it in their hand, and you know, just because, you know, it's like nah, like.
You know, I'm glad I've not gone there. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think I've only really heard about crack in the last 10 years. To be honest with you, I didn't hear about it before.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, do you know what I mean? And
don't get me wrong, like in the Caribbean, you won't see much. Like when I grew up, like you won't see that. Don't get me wrong, there's quite a few of them, but you won't really see them like that. If you see what I mean, like you would know them though. When you saw them, most of the time when you saw them, you could kind of tell.
Yeah.
To be honest, just by their appearance, by the way they were dressed, the way they looked, bad personal hygiene, like lots of different things. You could kind of identify as like characteristics, if you see what I mean. You know. So they weren't hard to kind of like identify, you know. And you did have a few, but not that many. You know, most people, like I said, would just smoke weed and have a drink, and that was it. If you see what I mean, they would, you know, have a few beers or some brandy or whatever, you know, and have a smoke, and you know.
It's like cannabis, you know.
Yeah.
They ban it most places, don't they? I mean, I went to Amsterdam. Sorry.
Yeah.
Once. But it's legal there, you know, in the shops, and, you know, and you can smoke it in the cafes. And I mean, what's wrong with it anyway? You know, it's quite a peaceful thing. You know, it's not like for instance, alcohol.
Yeah.
I think you give that to people, it's quite dangerous in a kind of way. You know, I know sometimes you can have a really good time on drink, as we've said before. You know, and a good party and all that. But it's also got a lot of dangerous effects where, if it's in the wrong hands, you know, a person will become more dangerous.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if they get behind the wheel,
Yeah.
more dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
But you compare it to cannabis,
Mm.
okay?
Mm.
You smoke cannabis, right? You're not dangerous behind it. You know, you're more calmer.
Yeah.
You're a better driver.
Well, I guess for some,
reckon you're a better driver.
well, for some people, in all honesty, right, mate, there are some people that do say that, though. I will be honest with you. There are some people that I know. Most people I know are fine, if you see what I mean. And I think that if I was to smoke and drive, I'd be fine too, if you see what I mean. I wouldn't be inhibited in any way, if you see what I mean. None of my inhibitions would be, if you see what I mean, slower, or my reactions would be any less, if you see what I mean. I think I'd be fine. But I know of a few people that have said to me that they don't like to drive after they've had a smoke. Because they feel, I think what it is for them is, for some people when they smoke, you know, some people get a little bit anxious, or you know what I mean, their heart might start racing a bit faster than usual, and they're not kind of used to that, or you know, they start feeling a bit jittery, and you know,
they get paranoid.
That's what I mean. The paranoia, you know what I mean. The anxiety causes that paranoia.
A lot of people get paranoid.
Yeah.
You know. Where I think when you're smoking this stuff, you know, your imagination will go wild, you know what I mean? And it can quite scare you. Your imagination's quite a wild place. And when you're smoking or taking drugs, it can play tricks on you, your own imagination. I know this, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, when I was younger, like I said, I used to hang around the wrong crowd sometimes, you know? And they took drugs, you know, these
people.
Kids really at the time, you know, they're only sort of my age. I remember their name, you know, Roy Fay, Cormac Kempsey, I mean, be honest with you, Roy Fay and Cormac Kempsey, their brothers got famous, Zig Zig Sputnik.
Oh, okay.
Alright, they got to #1. Okay,
oh, wow.
Brothers, okay.
Wow, okay.
I used to hang around with their, you know, these two, they didn't get famous, you know, their brothers did, whatever. But when I was younger, we used to sometimes take a little bit of speed now and again, smoke, sometimes. Not weed, cannabis then, I can't remember, you know, I didn't have any of that. Well, I don't think it
just
was...
What, just tobacco?
Also, I don't think it was around.
Just tobacco, yeah?
Tobacco, And sometimes they like sniffing petrol back.
Really?
On a rag. It's one way of getting high.
Wow.
You know, and some kids did glue, didn't they, John?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Well, I tried glue as well sometimes, you know, and it kind of puts you in a...
coma, probably.
Well, you know, it's dangerous stuff.
Oh, of course.
You know,
it's all chemicals.
To be honest with you, when I was sniffing petrol, right, I quite enjoyed it one night, you know. You know, I did it one night, you know, I can remember doing it one night, you know, a long time ago, you know, when I was about 15. Sniffing it a little bit, and I quite enjoyed the night, you know, I got really high, had a good time. And then maybe sort of like when I met up with them again, we did it again, you know, and I you know, this clock had loads of petrol, they poured loads of it on it, I smell it around, and I kind of went into a coma.
I can imagine, mate, fucking hell.
It freaked me
out. Excuse
out.
language, but
I mean, I had to go to hospital. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, you know, it freaked me right out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Wow.
You know, I had to go to hospital. That's one of the only times I've ever been in hospital. And that's, you know, being a young boy. And just trying to get high on some petrol. You know, that's what they were doing then. You know, I don't know whether they do it today.
Shit.
I really don't. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if kids were doing it today.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. You know, and it's a very, very, you know, especially when I was doing it, because they had lead in it, and I think they'd taken the lead out of the petrol.
Yeah.
And I was getting lead poisoning. That's what I had when we went to hospital, obviously. You know, because I was getting lead poisoning. You know, but that's a crazy thing, isn't it? You know, like I nearly killed myself taking that stuff. I was in the hospital, you know, and I think like if I had a little bit more, I would have made it or whatever.
You might have died, mate. You might have died.
It did freak me out, and I'll be honest with you, it freaked. You know, I thought never again am I going to. You know what I mean? It taught me a lesson. It taught me a lesson. You know, and that's what. You know, sometimes people they're taking their drugs and they give them out to people saying they're good, and then they die.
Yeah, it happens, mate. It happens a lot. Happens a lot.
You know, so you should be giving drugs.
Because not everyone is. The thing is, the reality is, right, is that everything affects everyone differently. Whether it be, you know, even the simple thing like some people classify caffeine. They will call that a drug. You see what I mean?
I like coffee.
So it's like, you know, people can be addicted to all these types of things. You know, and anything that you do too much can be detrimental to you, no matter what it is. If you overdo anything and abuse anything, if you see what I mean, overabuse anything to the point where it's becoming detrimental to your life, then obviously it's a problem. If you see what I mean, you know.
Definitely.
It's and again, I'm not encouraging anyone to have habits or anything like that, because I think, you know, the less habits you've got, the less bad habits, good habits, of course, nothing wrong with having good habits, but the least bad habits you've got, the better, you know. That's why I choose not to drink, if you see what I mean. That's why we have a drink maybe 3-4 times a year on our birthdays, and that's it, you know. And certain other things, because it's just like it's like, because I like to smoke, if you see what I mean. Like, I am a smoker. I've been smoking for a long time. So I try, as I know, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating smoking, but what I'm saying is that I already know I have a habit, so, you know, I'm already doing something that isn't the most beneficial thing for my health, and that is a reality.
It could be.
Now, it helps me a lot. It's very good for your health. It's very good for you in lots of ways.
It's good for your mental health.
It is, but at the same time, you've got to remember, smoking at the end of the day. You're still smoking, you know what I mean? And you're not really supposed to be, you know what I mean? We're human beings and we've got lungs, and we're not really supposed to be like, you know.
Yeah, but I must admit, right, since I've been smoking, I don't get flus or anything or colds anymore. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the smoke goes down and kills all the germs.
Oh, yeah.
They choke them to death.
Yeah.
You know, and all the germs, they can't stand it. You know, they go to another body. All the germs go up to another body and kill them.
Too much smoking there, mate.
Yeah,
time to go.
No, I wonder if smoking's good for you, because, like, say, you know, like if say somebody had a joint,
yeah,
I reckon they'd be good at driving. You know, more better. You know, and they can sort of slow down, be more calmer.
Well, sometimes that's what happens, and that's where it goes wrong. Sometimes people are driving too slowly because they get stoned and they get paranoid.
I think it depends who it is.
They end up on the bloody motorway somewhere driving at 40 miles an hour, and everyone behind them is pissed off.
But you're talking about maybe if there's an old lady, an old man that had a joint, and then they're really slow, and that'd be dangerous, you know, because I know if you are slow on the motorway, that is dangerous.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You can't get any worse than an old man on the road, you know, going like that. I mean, they can't see some people. You know,
dangerous.
It's one thing you really need when you're driving, doesn't it? Your eyesight, you know. But yeah, it's you know, I don't know whether it's good for you in a kind of way, smoking cannabis or not, because, like I say, it can sort of like benefit you mentally. You know, we are living in a very difficult world, aren't we? And it's not, sometimes I feel like it's unreal in a funny way, you know, the way it's all kind of set up, or being set up, every city in a funny way. And I feel like getting away from it all, you know, like everyone does, you know, and I feel like to get away from the city, you can just, you know, sometimes have a joint now and again, do you know what I mean? You know, and it's a good way to get away, in a kind of way, you know, have a holiday. If you see what I mean, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah. I think, like you said, sometimes just having a smoke kind of like just gives you like 15-20 minutes, you know, to yourself kind of thing, if you see what I mean. Especially like if you're the type of person like me, like I'm married and got kids, so like, you know, when I do have a smoke, I go outside, so it's like it kind of gives me like 15-20 minutes to just kind of like just, you know, peace and quiet, kind of like meditation in a way. Kind of gives me time to reflect on my day. You know, and especially if it's at the end of the day, you know what I mean. It gives me time to reflect at the end of on my day and how it's been, and you know, etc. It allows me to kind of decompress, I guess, as they would say. You know, I think that's the best way to put it. You know, and then obviously, you know, I might have 2 or 3 a day if I'm working. You know, but if I'm not working, I might have a few more, but not, you know, not a huge amount. You know, because obviously, you know, very busy, so it's yeah.
I mean, I did give up smoking once, and I sort of like having my tea break.
Yeah.
And I was having my break, you know, and I thought, I'm giving up. And I'd have one now, and I thought, this is not much of a break, hot button.
not enjoying this. Yeah.
I'll have a fag, you know.
Yeah.
Then it's called a break. You know. So I only gave up for a couple of months, you know.
Yeah.
It's just something I enjoy, you know, and I think like I used to smoke a bit heavier than I did. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of like trying to, you know, because I'm getting older. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it is not good for your health. At the end of the day, is it?
Yeah. Just being honest about it in terms of like just your general health, but like, you know, it's still smoke.
Oxygen's good for you, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Water,
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Mm.
I mean, if a tree had a mouth, it wouldn't smoke, would it? Do you know what I mean? Or you don't see birds smoking, do you?
No.
I think, humans are the only creatures that smoke, or really take drugs in a funny way. You don't.
Well, not always though, because there are some animals out there that have discovered some like not only alcohol but like hallucinogenic plants and shit.
Yeah.
And they would deliberately eat them to. I think you even said to me something about elephants before, or something like that as well, where they consume something or ingest something.
Yeah, fruit.
That gives them.
They wait. Well, when the fruit drops from these trees.
Yeah, it ferments.
They wait for a couple of weeks for them to rot a little bit.
The fermentation.
Because they know that they're going to get a bit drunk. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, they wait. The monkeys and elephants, apparently,
Okay.
You'd have to Google it if you see what I mean, because I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's true, that information, because I've shared it on one of my posts once, in the past. But I don't think, you don't see monkeys putting needles in them, do you?
No, yeah.
It's like America, Philadelphia, is it?
Oh, yeah.
You get people sort of on the streets. You look at the streets there, rubbish everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like there's no picking up the rubbish anymore.
Yeah.
Or keeping the streets clean.
It's awful.
And there's just people sitting around outside like zombies almost.
Yeah.
And it's like they've got no purpose in life whatsoever, or it's gone.
It's really sad.
And it's really sad to see.
Really sad.
I mean, I see it on YouTube. Like what's happened to Philadelphia, and it's awful to see that. Like people are just giving up themselves for these drugs, and, and they're dying in a way.
Literally killing themselves. In the process of killing themselves.
I can't understand.
I might not even realise it. Like you said, you got people literally frozen.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
It's like watching a zombie movie, but there's no blood. There's not blood everywhere.
It is literally like something out of a movie. You would unless you saw it up close. If you're one of these people who are one of these independent journalists and shit.
Quite disturbing.
Who went round Philadelphia doing the YouTube vlogs and all that type of stuff. I'm sure they must have seen some stuff that probably traumatised them to a degree. Like they probably couldn't believe it, mate. That was it's got, and obviously that's not the only place in the world that faces such an epidemic. If you see what I mean, of addicts. If you see what I mean, we're talking about addicts who are addicted to hardcore drugs. You know what I mean? All these heroin and meth and all these types of drugs. That are destructive, if you see what I mean, and just cause nothing but bloody destruction to communities and to people and to life and to families and to children. You know what I mean? Sometimes children grow up in houses where their mother and father or their brother or one of their siblings is hooked on one of these drugs, and then it's just awful.
That's a dangerous thing, isn't it? When adults are taking these drugs when they're around their children.
Yeah.
You sort of mean, and their children are seeing it, or then they take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's a difficult thing,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good to have habits, like bad habits, but if you do have habits, you've got to learn to be in control of them. You've got to have self-control. You've got to say, okay. If you're like the type of person that likes to smoke like us, right? There's some people that cannot have a smoke and be productive and still do stuff, if you see what I mean. When they have a smoke, they have to chill out and just relax and watch something and kind of do nothing and just kind of, if you see what I mean. They're not able to, So it's all about being responsible at the end of the day too. Like if you're going to be, if you're a grown adult and you do like to have it, like the occasional alcoholic drink or the occasional smoke or whatever, no one's here to judge you. You know what I mean? People do all sorts of things to help them kind of deal with their lives and decompress and just make life easier and to help them along the way, if you see what I mean, in a positive way, So it's just about being responsible about it, just being in control of your habits, just saying, okay, well, I like to have a drink, but I'm working Monday to Friday, so I might have a drink maybe after work on a Friday, if you see what I mean. My working week's finished, you know what I mean, I'm off tomorrow. I've got a few things to do, so I'm not going to get absolutely hammered, but I do like to have a drink, So I'm going to have a couple and then go home, if you see what I mean, you know. It's just about being responsible, you know, just being on top of things, you know, just not allowing your habits to control you. And I think that's the most important thing, you know. When your habits start to control you and your behaviour and your personality and your actions and your character, and not only that, but like I said, also your productivity. When it starts to hinder you, if you see what I mean, then obviously it's something that you need to kind of like reevaluate and kind of, you know, think to yourself, is this working for me? You know what I mean? Is this, you know?
I think like our circumstances are a little bit different again. Like your circumstances are different to mine. You've got 2 young children.
Yeah.
I've got 3 all children. You know, they're all adults. Do you know what I mean? I've done that bit. You know, I got no. Because sometimes I do smoke, whatever. You know, I got no one telling me off about it. You know, no one living with me. You know, I've got no. I'm not really responsible for anyone else in the kind of way, you know. And some people out there haven't got no responsibilities for anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And when they're going out for a drink or doing whatever, they're not sort of like rejecting their children, are they, or anything? Do you know what I mean? Or doing what they are doing. You know, so I think that we've all got different circumstances. That's all. We've all had different experiences. I feel, you know, with drugs.
Yeah.
You know, some people have not touched them ever. They don't. Some people will not touch smoking ever. If you sort of mean.
Well, the thing is like it depends. Like I said earlier too, though as well. I think it kind of like depends on what you as a person classify as a drug.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a lot of people that do prescription drugs. They take paracetamol. They take ibuprofen.
That's like cannabis. That's you know, some people need